You don't want to eat these right away because it will burn your mouth. It's so simple, but so fancy at the same time. Hi, I'm Chef Adrienne Cheatham. We are at my apartment, and today we're going to be taking leftovers to make a beautiful fricassee en croûte. We're going to be using salmon because that's what I have left over in my fridge. Fricassee is a fancy way of saying you're using a white base stew. En croûte just means that we're baking a pastry over the top of it. We're also going to make salmon skin chips. No leftovers, no waste. So we're going to fry them up and make a crunchy little snack to go along with it. I also have a couple other leftover ingredients in my fridge that I want to use up. Potatoes from hash browns and some dill that's past its prime. So all the ingredients here are very easy to find. Carrots, we've got celery. If you can find leeks, you can use any kind of onion, shallot, whatever you have access to, and potatoes. So I'm gonna kind of make a quick version of a stock using all the vegetables that are gonna go into the fricassee. About 1 tablespoon of butter. We've got our leek cut up here. We're just gonna sweat it. We're not gonna saute, we're not gonna brown them. One fun thing that most people don't do is de-stringing the celery because there are fibers here that are pretty tough. We're gonna season the leeks. You don't want the flavor of one thing subtracting from the other, so season every step. We're just gonna cook our celery and carrots with the leeks just for a couple of minutes. We're gonna add about 2 cups of water. This is gonna simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. You don't wanna cook the vegetables all the way because we are putting this whole dish back in the oven covered with puff pastry, and then it'll finish cooking in the oven. So I cooked the salmon, peel the skin off of the salmon, scrape it to get all of the salmon fat and protein off. Now we're just gonna lay our scraped skin on paper towels and we're just gonna pop it in the refrigerator. Next thing we're gonna do is get our salmon ready. But now we have this kind of gunky layer underneath, so we're just gonna scrape that off, cut our salmon into pieces, large chunks, and we're just gonna keep the salmon cold in the refrigerator. The next step that we're gonna do is making the bechamel. 1 more small pot, 3 tablespoons of butter this time. We're gonna start with the roux. It's about equal parts flour and butter. We're gonna use a little bit of allspice, a little black pepper. Again, my dill that's past its prime, 2 cups of milk. You can use any kind of milk you have. It can be non-dairy. You can definitely go with a non-gluten flour. 30 seconds to 1 minute. Start to slowly add our milk. So now we have our milk fully incorporated and we're just gonna let it cook until it starts to thicken up a little bit. We're gonna add a pinch of salt, small pinch of allspice, a little bit of black pepper. Make sure you whisk it pretty frequently. It's getting nice and thick here. So we're gonna turn our heat off and just let this sit until our vegetable stock is ready. So now our bechamel is ready. We have our veg stock. So now we just have to combine the two, little by little so you don't get lumps. We're gonna let this come up to a simmer together. In the meantime, we can get our ramekins ready. I have 2 nice sized ones here. You can even bake it in a pie pan. But we're just gonna sprinkle our potatoes and our vegetables and our salmon. Okay, we have a beautiful sauce right here. And we're gonna taste it because once you put the puff pastry on top, you're locked in. Whatever seasoning you have is what you got. Actually not bad. I had a lot of dill in my fridge that I've been using over the past week. The leaves themselves that are left are not very happy to see me. We're gonna chop everything up. The stems will actually stand up to that heat. It's mainly about using these stems that would otherwise get thrown away and just sprinkle it on top. So this is something that I always keep in my freezer. This is puff pastry. You can use biscuit dough, you can use crescent dough, you can use pizza crust from the freezer. We're gonna roll it out a tiny bit just to make it a little bit thinner. If we were to cut circles that fit directly on top, yes, it would look really nice, but we would create more waste. So we're gonna cut squares because then we have less waste, and these extra pieces to the side, we can actually make like cheese straws out of. We're going to add our sauce to the ramekins, our beautiful bechamel. Use another spoon to kind of make sure it gets all the way to the bottom. And now we are going to cover it with our puff pastry. And the oven is already preheated to 375. We're just gonna make a little egg wash to go on top here. Tiny splash of water. It's more just for the look of it, but the rest of this beaten egg, save it and you can use it in scrambled eggs. Now we're just going to cut into the dough and we're just gonna pop it into the oven. That is gonna take about 20 or so minutes to cook. So while that's cooking, we're gonna grab our salmon skin and make our fried chips out of that. You don't need a lot of oil for the chips. You wanna have salt handy because as soon as they come out of the oil, you wanna season them while they're still warm. So let's test a corner. Ah, we are there. So step back. Flip it if you need to, because sometimes it curls up. If it pops like that, just be careful. Guard your grill. Woo. Gorgeous. You can see the bechamel is like bubbling up through the vents that we cut in the top. Oh, so here we have our fricassee of salmon en croûte. I'm gonna have a little salmon skin chip on the side. I'll save the one that I already ate half of for my husband. And we'll just garnish with a little fresh dill on top. It's still really hot, but I can't wait. I really wanna try it. Oh, that puff pastry is so good. Oh my God. Am I supposed to be talking about something else?